Hey gorgeous, welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video. I hope you're all doing well. So guys, I was scared I was actually not going to manage to record a video for you guys this weekend because last week I caught COVID after 3 years of not catching it, being in strong lockdowns and everything. And now my body decided to catch COVID for some reason. And it's strange because I didn't really go out or anything last week, so I have no idea how I caught it. And my boyfriend is fine so far. He has not gotten infected, but yeah, I got COVID. I was actually quite sick. I am doing a lot better now, luckily. So I am happy that actually I did manage to do a bit of a build for you guys. And this one is quite exciting, if I do say so myself, because this is the house where Bridget the Maid is going to live. If you don't know Bridget the Maid, she was an NPC in The Sims 1, and I believe she did make an appearance in some of the spin-off games, but after the first Sims game, she was not really a part of any of the other main titles, so The Sims 2, Sims 3, or Sims 4. But I believe she had like a mini game or something in like a Sims 2 version for console, I believe. So yeah, and because I think she's such an iconic character, I mean, obviously everybody knew Bridget the Maid. Basically in The Sims 1, if you were to hire a maid, it would basically always be Bridget. The same thing in The Sims 2. There were a couple more maids, and I think Kaylin was one of the maids, but they didn't bring back Bridget for some reason. But yeah, I thought it would be nice if I introduced her in my save file, because in my opinion she is an iconic Sims character, and yeah, I thought it would be nice. So to tell you a little bit about the background story that I have in mind for her. Her life kind of got intertwined with the Altos. The Altos was a family that was introduced in The Sims 3. And if you don't know, I have already built the original Alto family a house in Willow Creek. I will link that video down below so you can check it out. But if you're aware, in The Sims 3, there, with more DLC came out, a lot more worlds were actually introduced, and in a lot of the worlds there was actually an Alto family living. However, it was never really specifically mentioned how these different Alto families were actually related, except for one specific character, and his name was Bert Alto. He was introduced in the Sims 3 DLC world of Hidden Springs that you could get from the store, and they actually mentioned that he was the brother of Nick Alto, so the Alto family that lived in Sunset Valley. And I believe there's also an Alto family living in Island Paradise World, Isla Paradiso, in The Sims 3. However, it's not really mentioned how they are related. And I also feel like in the different Sims 3 worlds, like the timeline is different. So, it might be like a grandson, but it could also be, another brother. But you couldn't really set up family trees in The Sims 3 between different worlds. It just didn't work that way. You would just have one save, and that would be in one and the same world. So if you guys did not play The Sims 3, you might not know that, because in The Sims 4 you can actually travel between all the different worlds in one save file. But yeah, in The Sims 3 that was not possible. So there were multiple Altos living in different worlds, and it just wasn't clear how they were related. However, this Bert Alto character, he was actually mentioned to be the brother of Nick Alto. So Nick Alto in my save file, he's no longer alive, because I kind of imagine that my save file, the events in my save file take place approximately 40 to 50 years after the events of The Sims 3, that is. And yeah, so Nick Alto sadly is no longer alive, and his household is run by his youngest son. And Bert, I did already make a Bert character, so he should be his uncle. However, I think I'm going to kill him off as well, because I feel like it wouldn't make sense that Bert Alto would still be alive, because I believe technically he's actually still a bit older than Nick Alto is. So yeah, I'm going to kill him off as well. So I'm sorry if you were hoping for Bert Alto to be alive still. Yeah, so throughout his life, Bert Alto, he took a bit of a different his life took a bit of a different turn compared to his brother. The Alto business has always been like this sort of shady business. Like they've probably gotten a lot of real estate at some point, but it was never really clear where they got the money to buy that real estate. However, I believe that Nick Alto, even though he is probably definitely, he's quite shady. He's not like a full-on criminal. I guess he might be, like, but I guess his crimes would fall in the how do you say, the white collar category. Whereas his brother Bert, actually in The Sims 3, he worked as a full-time criminal. So yeah, I guess a different type of crime probably. And he actually had a bit of a falling out with his brother as well. And in The Sims 3, he is described as being on the run actually for his brother Nick. So I like the idea of this Alto family not necessarily getting along that well with the Alto family in Willow Creek. Maybe there's just been some issues in the past regarding money, probably, I guess. That would be the most logical reason to have a falling out for a family like this. They're very money driven, definitely. Yeah, but Bert Alto, he worked his life as a criminal. He was very rich. And at one point, he was living in a very large house. As you can see, this is the house he lived in. He wanted to hire a maid, which turned out to be Bridget. And, being a criminal, I guess you are not very quick to trust people, but since he would see Bridget basically every day, I guess at some point maybe he offered her like a permanent position as like a servant living in his house. And Bridget, struggling to get by at that point, she already had 2 children, which I will talk about later. She was struggling to get by, so she was very, very happy to be offered to live with Bert, basically. She was also able to bring her children as well, and I guess at that point she wasn't really aware yet of how big of a criminal Bert actually was. But yeah, she was actually quite thankful that she was able to live here. So she moved in, and after they've gotten to know each other a bit better, I guess some romance did happen. And they ended up marrying each other. So now Bridget, her name is actually going to be Bridget Alto. And she inherited this huge house and all of Bert's money, basically because he did not have any children of his own, and he did not have any other heirs that he would leave his fortune to. So yeah, Bridget lives here with her 2 children. Her children were actually introduced in a mini game, and I believe this was for like a Sims 2 console spin-off. And the mini game is called The Maid's House. Basically, I'm not really sure how the mini game works, guys, because I've never played it myself. I just did some, research on like the Sims wiki, and I think basically you could either play player 1 and player 2, and you would play as the maid's children, and you would have to kind of like either try and make a mess of the house, and then Bridget would have to clean it up or something, but I'm not sure, something like that. And so she lives here with her 2 children, Esther and Deezy. Bridget, by the way, in my save file is going to be an elder, and her children are going to be young adults who they're not very motivated. I kind of like the idea of actually them being slobs, and not really taking care of the house, not really helping their mom out, cleaning the house and cooking food and whatnot. And they're kind of living their best life here. They're living here like they're living in some kind of a hotel. They don't really have to work. They're basically just waiting for their inheritance. And that's basically it. I don't think they're the best of characters, but Bridget being a very, very sweet mom, like she doesn't really mind that her children are not very motivated to move out in the world. And I guess this is because like she was struggling so much when she was younger. She just wanted to give her children the life that she never got to have, basically, like until, I mean, she has that life right now. She's much older. But yeah, she's still very much a clean freak. Bridget is, I imagine. I guess she doesn't really live here with any servants, because she would be the type to, when she would hire a servant and the servant would clean up, she would be the type to, clean up after the servants still, because she would never, it would never be up to her standards. It would never be clean enough. It would never be neat enough. So I guess she kind of lives here on her own, taking care of the house, taking care of her children. She doesn't really have any other job. I mean, obviously she inherited a large sum of money from her husband, Alto. So yeah, that in a nutshell is actually the background story for Bridget and her children. So this house is a Second Empire Victorian mansion. Well, if you're not familiar with Victorian styles, I guess when you're thinking of a typical Victorian house, you probably think of a Queen Anne style house. A Second Empire style house is different. I guess the most obvious feature that would give away something being a Second Empire house would be the mansard roof. So I tried to build a mansard roof on this house. Basically, a mansard roof, it leaves space for a large attic. It has a roof that has multiple sides, so it does not go up in just one single pitch, if you will, but it has like multiple sides to the roof. Usually there's also room for a lot of dormers, and it has some like cast iron detailing on the roof as well. And I guess those features are very telling for a typical Second Empire house, whereas a Queen Anne style looks different. I guess a lot of Second Empire houses are also made out of bricks. However, I opted to use siding because I felt like it fits into the world just a bit nicer. And I feel like a lot of Second Empire houses, especially in America, I feel like siding is such a typical thing for like an American house. Here in Europe, we definitely use a lot more brick than we do siding. Generally speaking, I mean, obviously we use both, but I feel like brick is a lot more common here in Europe, whereas siding is a lot more common in America. But I might be wrong. This is just like a guess from the pictures that I have seen so far, and stuff like that. But yeah, and the interior, I like to go for a very sort of Parisian style. And basically, the only reason for this, guys, don't laugh at me, is because Bridget the Maid in The Sims 1, she's wearing like a French maid costume. So I really wanted to go with a sort of French style interior. I felt like that's probably what Bridget likes the best. But yeah, in terms of her personality, we really did not have, I really did not have a lot to go off, because she was just an NPC in The Sims 1. And that's it. We don't really know a whole lot about her. We don't really know a whole lot about her children. So all their sort of characteristics I kind of have to make up myself, but that's fine. So yeah, this is Bridget's room. It's a very, very nice master bedroom. I'm very, very proud of how this house came together, because actually this house only has like a single story, and then the attic. And the attic I had to sort of convert into a fully functional second floor. And I did not have a lot of light upstairs because, well, obviously I used the mansard roof trick. So the dormers were the only way for me to get some light in. And I used a lot of like the fake dormers, which are just from the roof decoration category. And obviously they don't actually work. So, but I ended up having 3 bedrooms upstairs, and all bedrooms actually have at least one window, which is nice. And I have 2 bathrooms. So this is Bridget's ensuite bathroom. So she has a large bedroom, then you can go through the walk-in closet and then go into the bathroom, and the bathroom is very spacious as well. Like this is like my dream bedroom. Like it's so nice. And then the second upstairs bathroom is a shared bathroom between Deezy and Ester, and it's like this Jack and Jill bathroom, which for the floor plan that worked the best. Realistically, I am not a huge fan of Jack and Jill bathrooms, but in The Sims it doesn't really matter. Like I like to use them. I guess they were quite common as well, especially in American Victorian houses. So yeah, I thought that was a realistic solution in this case. So yeah, just finishing up the bathroom here real quickly. After this, I will be working on the children's bedrooms, and to kind of reflect, you know, the mini game, or it's kind of like a wink not to the mini games. Their rooms are actually quite messy. I imagine, as I just explained, these 2 children, they are basically very spoiled, you know. They have not had to suffer as much as their mom did. They grew up in this large house with a lot of money, probably in the past with loads of servants as well, but now that Bridget is alone, like her husband is no longer alive, they you know, they are just basically not cleaning up after themselves. So I made use of a lot of clutter that I just sort of scattered throughout the room, and also like these piles of laundry, like they're not really picking up after themselves. By the way, guys, I did not put a laundry room in this house. In my save file, I opt to not go with laundry rooms, just because you know, it gives you, some people might like that kind of gameplay, which is fine. You can add in laundries in these houses if you want to, but I personally don't necessarily always play with laundry. I find that it just gives your Sims unnecessary tasks to do, and maybe the first 2 times seeing the animation it's quite cute, but then after a while it gets quite hideous in my opinion. So yeah, that's why I never really put in laundry rooms in my houses, especially not in the houses for my save file. If I built a house like outside my save file, I might put a laundry in, just, you know, for realism, because obviously most houses would have laundries, and a large house like this would most definitely have a laundry. But yeah, so just so you guys know, but obviously feel free to download this house and change it up however you would like. By the way, guys, if you want to download this house, you can find it on my gallery page. All details are in the description, but you can either search for the hashtag BriaSims or hashtag BriaSimsYT, or you can just look for my origin ID or EA account ID, however they call it nowadays, which is also BriaSimsYT. So just so you know. Yeah, oh, by the way, that trick behind the bed, I actually wanted to do like a sort of platform, but I couldn't because like the roof would just glitch out, and yeah, it wasn't really possible, unfortunately. But yeah. So yeah, guys, this is actually already the last room in the house. I think I'm just going to leave this voiceover right here. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you did by leaving a like or a comment, or feel free to subscribe. And I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!